Hi, everyone. I'm Summer.
I'm Carrie.
And this is Publicia Podcast.
I'm nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. It'll be fun. Fuck. Oh my gosh. What the hell just happened? What the hell? What is happening? Make sure you come back. We're going to do this bi-weekly. So make sure you come back to talk to us more about, sex, drugs, and self-improvement. Welcome back, everybody, and happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yay.
So, yay! And we had our first show on Indigenous Peoples Day. So that means it has been 1 year. We have not yet been burned at the stake, so that's awesome.
Pretty close.
It might still happen, but so far so good. So we thought it would be fun to kind of, reflect on the year. As we move into the next one, apparently our calendar starts on Indigenous Peoples Day. We don't care. Right. We don't care about that other one.
Nobody cares about the Julian calendar anyway.
No, we really don't. So let's see, Carrie, what did you not get to do this past year that you wished you had?
Honestly, I think my only goal for the past couple years has been going back to school. And besides that attempt mid-COVID, which was stupid. But in my defense, COVID hadn't happened yet when I started.
It kind of threw a wrench in things, didn't it?
It really, really did. I think that's probably my biggest goal that I haven't yet accomplished. Gonna fucking do it. Someday. And I haven't read as many books as I wanted to this year.
You hadn't what? I'm sorry?
I haven't read as many books as I wanted this year.
Yeah.
No. Gonna work on that.
I mean, I have found I'm able to get through a lot more books since I switched to audiobooks, thankfully.
Same. I used to really enjoy holding the book to be able to read it. But with COVID, being unable to go get books or go to the library, I got out of the habit of reading a lot of books. But I really like audiobooks now because I can multitask.
Right. That's my big thing is the multitasking I have. Managing my life has gotten a lot more difficult, a lot more labor intensive. So I just have not had time in the last several years to sit down and read like I want to, So audiobooks are saving me because I can listen while I do things. And so that helps a lot.
What about you?
I don't know. What did I not do? I didn't really have a lot of goals for this year, honestly, except for my trip to Europe, which I got to do. Well, I guess one thing, and maybe it's just because it was recent, that I wanted to do was I missed a concert last week that I had been supposed to go to spring of 2020, and it was one of those got shut down because the COVID shutdowns, and it was rescheduled for this past weekend, and I missed it because my child decided to fake being sick, probably to make sure I couldn't go or other reasons. But so I'm so it's just stuff like that. There's a lot of things, a lot of little things that I wanted to do here and there that I couldn't do for similar reasons. So, what did you learn this year about the world?
I think I relearned just how shitty it is.
I mean, I think I already knew, but yeah, I have gotten increasingly just
learned a lot more about just how shitty people are, with the right circumstances. Just
right. I think I did learn too, though, that it's getting easier for me to let go of those people who are consistently taking much more than they give. So I did release a lot of negativity out of my life in the past year, in the form of not having those people who were, dragging down. So that's good.
I did learn like positive things also. Like not everybody,
Good.
just like
True.
but the ones that aren't shitty are the best kind of people.
Right. So, what do you wish you had known at the start of the year? This, our calendar year. At the beginning of our podcast.
I don't know. I think maybe just how like wild everything was gonna be this year, between like all of the transitions and like crazy like news stories and like the furthering of how weird the world is. And I'm never prepared to live through another like historical event. So, a lot of those in the last couple of years.
I'm over historical events.
I'm over it. I don't want to do it anymore.
No, not at all.
Like a normal like boring year where like nobody does anything but like work and sleep and like make cute dog videos. That's all I want.
Cute dog videos. You don't have a dog.
But I like watching other people's dogs.
So how have you changed over this year?
I think I'm a lot more empathetic.
How? You were so empathetic to start with.
I think just like because I started like a new job recently, and so having like the new like I've had 3 jobs total since this podcast started. That seems dumb, but
that's a lot of change in 1 year.
It is what it is. But I think like between all of the jobs that I've had, like they were all really hard jobs, and so I think I've learned a lot more to be like patient and like empathetic with people, if that makes sense.
Okay, it does. I have aged 10 years this past year, I think. I'm so tired. I mean, in the past year, I graduated school, so that's good. So I'm done with that, so that's great. I also got a promotion at work. Thank you, which is wonderful because COVID effectively killed my business. So I desperately needed that raise at my day job to make up the difference. So that is good. I don't know. I don't even have words. Like I've started this homestead. I've got out here. I am now living on it. I wasn't living on the property yet when we started this. So I'm hiding out in the woods, and I have already started the rumor that there is a scary witch that lives in the woods, so that everybody will leave me alone.
Yes.
My son's father actually said he wanted to buy the property next door so he could put up a billboard that said something like that. And I'm like, you know what? You really should do that, because that would totally help, because he didn't know that I've been saying that. Right? It would be ideal. I just need, but I think, I'm just, like I said, I feel a lot older, and I'm ready to retire at this point. I'm like handing off. I have gotten a lot better at delegating and handing things off to the younger people. I don't have the energy to do the amount of community work that I had been doing. And I am definitely moving into my crone phase.
Hey, Crohn's are great, man. A lot of wisdom.
Right? I'm just going to like hang out in the woods with my buddy here, and we're just going to
Yes, as you should.
make our potions and be happy. So, what have you overcome this year?
I went to my first Pride. That was terrifying.
Oh, that's right. I forgot this was your first.
Religious trauma, you know.
Yes, I forgot this was your first. But that was great, though, right?
Fun, except for the night that I got super drunk and fell in the middle of the street. We're not going to talk about that.
I mean, it sounds like Pride to me.
It was great. It was a good time. Covered in glitter the whole month. I don't know what happened most of the days. It's fine. It's okay.
All the glitter, all the glitter.
But,
I
I started seeing somebody new, and it's not a shitty man, which isn't very Pride of me, but you know, what can you do?
And I would say that counts as overcoming too, because that's a lot of anxiety and a lot of issues that you had to work through.
Oh yeah.
To even be open to this. So I think that's definitely counts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. And I think that's probably not to be practicing medicine without a license here, but I think that's probably why your anxiety has been up this week, because it's the decompression phase from that.
You are absolutely correct.
So. Yeah, so it will even out. You will be okay.
Great.
And the more times you go through this, you know, of, I hate to say the word practice, but in a lot of ways it is like your brain is learning like, oh, I did this, I was safe. And when next time you do this again, oh, I was safe. And it stops having those overreactions, or at least less so.
Yeah, it's been great. He's super, super great. He's very fun.
Well, that's good. I don't want to answer this question. I should have thrown this question out.
It's your turn.
This is what I get for just pulling up a list, and not because I was running late for filming time. I was already like 5 minutes late, so I just pulled this up. What have I overcome this year? I have survived. I am still alive.
That's good.
So I have not talked about this on the podcast. I only just started tweeting about it on my personal account in the last few weeks. My 14-year-old daughter has conduct disorder. With her in particular, conduct disorder is a very broad diagnosis based on behaviors. But so some can grow out of it, you know, as they mature. Others, it turns into, I shouldn't say it turns into. It manifests as a personality disorder once they're grown. But they can't diagnose personality disorders until you are 18, because theoretically your personality is still forming. But what we're looking at is, so she's been inpatient twice this year, and also been discharged from 2 different therapists. The consensus is we're looking at psychopathy. They just can't diagnose her as a psychopath until she turns 18. But she is almost 15, and I heard from multiple of those clinicians that she is the highest. So psychopathy is a continuum, and she is the highest on the scale they have seen, including all the adults they have seen in their practice. So, and she refuses, like, the only thing that necessarily helps, like, you can't fix psychopathy, you're born with things. The brain is just different, and there does seem to be a genetic component according to the research. But the cognitive behavioral therapy can help them basically learn the rules of society, but they have to choose to follow them. And she has reached a point where she refuses to participate in therapy, and so that's been maintained for about 3 years. And so they've all discharged her and said, without the therapy, there's no way to improve this. She's refusing to do the therapy, so it's just essentially inevitable at this point. So in any event, lots of things have happened. I don't want to go into it. She's tried to poison me. It's a whole thing. So my house right now is basically like prison. I have to lock everything as I go in and out. And so I have, when I say I have survived, I'm not being hyperbolic. Like, this is literally, I've successfully managed to keep the other children and myself safe. So I think that's a lot.
It is. And I'm very happy that you're okay. I'm very proud of how you've handled the situation, because that's a lot.
It's a lot, and there's a lot we don't know, and there's not really a system built for this.
Yeah.
There's I could only find 2 facilities that are actively doing research with quote unquote juvenile psychopaths, even though clinically they can't be called that yet, that are having positive results, but they're both exclusively for boys because the numbers are just higher with boys. So there just isn't anything that you can do. Like, they're literally telling us you just survive until they're old enough you can get them out of your house.
But then
then they're released on society.
Like, it just blows my mind, like, how shitty the mental health services and like social services are in the US.
Right.
Like, there's just no backing for it, and it sucks. Like, a lot.
Yeah, and it's terrible, and there's no system for, like, I understand there's limited options when you're dealing with something like this, where it is, the structure of their brain. Like, we don't know how to completely rewire brains, right? Like, we just don't yet.
Yeah.
But there's no system in place to help like work around. Like, there's no residential place that you can send them. She did spend a couple months with what is apparently the best program in the state for this issue, and then they finally discharged her because that's what they said, that if we're looking at psychopathy here and she's not willing to participate, so at this point she's a liability. If we keep her here, she's got to go home. So there's not any options to then protect everybody else in the home. And what do you do when they go? Like I said, she's going to become an adult, and when the therapist looks at you and says she is on the chronology that is the hallmark of a serial killer.
Yeah.
And so then I realized, like, okay, even if, say, I can emancipate her at 16, or maybe she stays around till she's 18, she's still got to go out into the world. And what is that going to look like? How many people is she going to hurt? I don't have any control over that, but I can't stop my brain from being concerned.
Yeah. Because whether or not she, like, stays until she's 18 or leaves when she's 16 or leaves whenever, like, it's gonna be like a forceful action on her part. Like, she's gonna go out into the world, like, forcefully, and, like, what do you do? Like, it's a tough situation, and I wish there was, like, more resources for it, but I feel like it's just so, like, uncommon that people don't think about it. especially for like women and girls, like it's just not like a thing. Like there's not very many like talked about female serial killers or female like psychopaths, and the ones that are, you know,
Well, I think, and I've talked to a few people in my life about this, particularly people who, have contact with her, so that they understand what, when I say things, that this is, what it is. When I, when I say no, she's got to go I've got to take her out of here, whatever, like, don't question this because I have reasons. And people are very resistant to the idea that people can be born this way.
Yeah.
And so what you end up with is a lot of unsolicited advice about what punishments will teach them. But the reality is, the research shows punishment does not affect psychopaths. That portion of the brain literally does not light up on the MRI when that happens. Like they don't ever make the connection to that. I got this punishment, I shouldn't do this again. It doesn't happen. But that's apparently everybody's thought. Or I had a friend here the other day. I was trying to explain the level of narcissism that we were dealing with, because they were trying to understand. I don't remember what started it. They were trying to understand one particular behavior, and so I was trying to explain that. And they literally looked at me and said, "That sounds like where they're at developmentally." Like, no, a high level of that level of narcissism and believing you are entitled to everything all the time. Everyone else is on earth to serve you, and being incapable of empathy for any other human being is not normal teenage development. And if that's, what your teenager is doing, I highly suggest you get them into therapy right now, because that is absolutely not developmentally normal or appropriate.
Yeah, no. That's you're like, what, like 4 or 5? Like when you start realizing other people have feelings and that, people do other things, and you like start thinking about people's feelings. That's like when you're really
between the ages of 3 and 5 is when that generally starts, and then it continues developing until, what is it, about 8-ish or something like that.
Therapy if they think that's like
right. So I think a lot of it is just people, partially they're unaware, because that was my dad's thing. He's like, I always thought it was how you were raised. But like, she's been here since she was 5, and we knew there were, some issues when she moved in, but the issues we thought we were dealing with should have been correctable, right? And nothing has ever made any difference. And he's like, I don't understand. He was kind of bewildered. He's like, you mean people really are born with something wrong with their brain? I'm like, yeah, just like you can be born with, different anomalies with your body. It's the same thing with your brain. And so I think there's just a resistance, and it's probably just our human desire to, have control over everything. We like to think that,
like, and I think a lot of it also comes from like the true crime community. Like when we talk about serial killers that are psychopaths, like a lot of times it's because like they had families that did do that, but like you said, there's like an idea of it being like genetic. So one of their parents was probably also like that, or like some kind of some other personality disorder, and so it just like pushed it further.
And there's also a difference between psychopaths and sociopaths.
Yeah.
And sociopaths aren't born that way. They are socialized that way, right? Things that happen to them, early trauma, attachment issues, those things. And I think that because that is more common, a lot of people get it very confused and think that's all of it. But, and there does appear from the research to be definitely there is a difference, like they are born with a difference in their brain. They haven't been able to identify like a specific gene or anything, but I mean, that does tend to suggest there's probably a genetic component.
Yeah.
I think given the family history of this child in particular, there is definitely most likely a genetic component. I've been looking at records the last 2 days, and her mother and both of her mother's parents all seem to qualify as psychopaths, according to both my experience with the ones I've had contact with and various evaluations entered into public record via court cases. So I think there's definitely a strong argument for a genetic component here.
Yeah, I just from like the things that you've told me, like I would have to agree, and just from like having worked in like psych hospitals, I'd have to agree with you on all of it.
So that's depressing. Anyways, so since we are beginning our new year, what do you want to do or accomplish in the next year? Give us something.
I have 2 goals this week that are gonna be, I'm gonna start and keep up with. I am going to start going to the gym because I'm tired of feeling shitty all the time. And also I'm looking at online grad schools because I feel like that might be easier for me to do instead of like in-person ones with work.
I enjoyed online programs.
Those are my 2 goals this week because I've already missed the deadline for in-person for spring or fall semester, one of those. But online schools are usually like year-round for like different semesters, so those are my 2 goals this week and for the rest of the year.
Do you know what what degree program you're wanting to do?
My original thought was that I want to be a therapist, but I've been looking at like Master of Social Work and like a master's in sociology, because you can do more with the social work and the sociology. So I'm looking into those also. And I was looking at like Boston University today, and they have like a really good program for sociology. So
nice.
I look at that.
Exciting.
I am very excited. I want to go back to school so bad.
That's awesome.
What about you?
Fuck, I don't know. What are my goals? To fucking learn TikTok for one, so I can stop. So I can finally push it on there because people keep being like, you guys need to be on TikTok. I know. I'm sorry. I'm old. I'm slow. I'm out of excuses. I just haven't done it.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of the uploads, be sure to turn on those notifications so you will know as soon as those go up. Also, like us on social media at Hypoxia Podcast, or the easiest way is to go to our website, hypoxia.com. That's HOPOKSIA.com. And the links to all the socials and all the podcast feeds are right there. And we just want to thank you all for sharing your time with us, hanging out with us, and we hope to spend more time with you in the future.